Are you in a headspace right now where you are isolating yourself and avoiding everyone and everything as much as possible? Are you finding that you don't want to reply to text messages, you don't want to take calls from friends and family, you don't want to get out, you don't want to make plans, you find yourself canceling plans, you don't really want to see anyone or talk to anyone? And this isn't about you wanting to take some time for yourself, to rest, to rejuvenate, to ground yourself, to just spend some alone time as an act of self-care, where this is more about you avoiding everyone and everything, and you are feeling down, disconnected, and depressed. If this is the case, then you might be socially isolating. Now, I have a whole talk that I just did about reasons why people self-isolate, and then what the key signs are to look out for to know if you have crossed that line from needing some rejuvenating time to yourself and into a self-destructive season of self-isolation. So you're going to want to watch that if you're not totally sure. But if you are sure and you're like, I have absolutely been self-isolating and I know that it's not good for me, but I can't seem to get out of this funk, and it's probably, leading to depression, or if I've been struggling with depression, it's making me even more depressed. What do I do? Well, then you have come to the right place, because we are going to talk about exactly what you can start doing to get out of this pattern. But before that, if you're new here, welcome to our incredible little channel on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below. If you're back again, it is always good to have you. Special shout out to my shifters. Love seeing you show up in my comments and identify yourself in there. So good to have you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. The button's about right down there, and like the video. If you like it and get something out of it, that would be wonderful. Either way, my name is Julia Christina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, researcher, coach, and the creator of my incredible membership community, the Shift Society, where we are taking the work that we are talking about here, we are taking it to the next level. You are learning a step-by-step, brain-changing process to change the way you think and feel and show up every single day, and you're being guided, supported, and held accountable every single day. You can get more information about the Shift Society in the description below. I help heart-centered humans break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And social isolation is one of those things that can really hold us back. So we are isolating and holding ourselves back, but then it is also holding us back from having the life that we want, from experiencing life the way that we want to, from having the connection and the interaction and the experiences that we want to be having. We are relational beings. We are hardwired for connection. And so although many among us need time to ourselves as an act of self-care, to rest, to rejuvenate, to just sort of do things with ourselves and enjoy spending time with ourselves. That's a good thing, to enjoy having some time to yourself, to enjoy your own company. That is not an easy feat for many among us, and something that many of us work towards, and something that I spent a lot of time working towards with my own sense of self, my own sense of self-confidence, my own relationship with myself. And being able to do that and say at this point that I really like myself and I like spending time with myself, that's a good thing. But when it crosses over into not being about self-care, but about being self-destructive by isolating ourselves to the point where we are feeling down, depleted, depressed, or even defeated, then we need to be doing something about it. But here's the thing. When we are at a place of standstill, it's hard to get going. Like, what's that? The theory of relativity or theory of motion? Don't come at me for this, but you know what I mean. That theory that says that it's much easier to keep something moving than that is already in motion than something that is still and getting it moving. And you know that it's harder to get yourself moving and going with anything for the most part than it is to kind of just keep going once you've gotten that momentum going. Same thing when it comes to social isolation. If you've been isolating yourself a lot, if you've been avoiding a lot, then it's hard to get things going. And so I want to encourage you that it's okay that it's hard. To not be like, well, it's hard, so I'm not going to do it. No, most of the time, the things that are worth it are hard. I was just up at the mountain on Saturday with my 4-year-old. She's learning how to snowboard. And we took the chairlift. So we've been on the bunny hill for the past few weeks. She's been learning and figuring out. She's been such a little trooper with it all, but really wanted to go on the chairlift. And so this week I said to her, if you get this one skill down, then we can, you'll be able to manage getting down the bigger run if we go up the chairlift. So we went up to the top of the chairlift and I gave her a little talk beforehand. And I said, Kalia, you are likely going to fall, right? You're still learning. You're going to fall. You might fall a few times. It might even feel like you're falling a lot. But I want to encourage you to not get frustrated. I want to let you know that falling is part of it. Falling a lot is part of it. That's how we learn. That's how we get better. Everybody falls when they first start out snowboarding, and I still fall, and I've been doing it for a long time. So to just know that it's part of it, that it's okay, that we just get back up and we keep going, because we know that nothing has gone wrong if things feel hard as we are learning them, as we are getting something going. And she was amazing. She was awesome. She didn't complain once the whole way down. She got herself back up. And so just knowing that when you are starting something new, when you are changing a habit, when you're creating a new pattern, when you are learning something new, it is more often than not, it is hard in that initial process. There's a lot of failure. There's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of challenge that comes up. And I want you to know that nothing has gone wrong if that is what's happening for you. Please don't use that as an excuse, because that is just the experience. It's part of that experience. So as I share with you these ways to fight social isolation, these ways to break that habit, that tendency that you might be in, that funk that you might be in, to know that you might not feel like it, but we don't always get to do things that we feel like if we want to be feeling better. We might feel like it's not great in the moment, but the longer term effect, the outcome that we are working towards is going to be worth it. Yeah? So, as we go through this list, keep this in mind. If you're like, I don't want to do that, think about, is it going to be difficult now, but good for me later, or good for me in the long run? Then, okay, I am worth that effort. My well-being, my happiness, my life is worth the effort of doing something inconvenient, difficult, resisting, or hard. Because I will reap the rewards of that, because I will feel better and I am worth that effort. So the first one to do to help you get out of that funk of social isolation is make an effort to converse with someone once a day. If you haven't been doing it really at all, just start with once a day. If you've been doing it maybe once a day, maybe go to twice a day. And sending a text, having a text conversation, that's okay. Ideally, what we're going for, the gold standard, is a one-to-one, in-person, face-to-face, can, reach out and touch the person where and if appropriate. That's the ideal, but I know that's not always the reality. So second to a face-to-face conversation is a telephone conversation. And if, that just feels like too much right now, or just not possible right now, or the people in your life have too much going on, they can't sit down and have a long, uninterrupted conversation, then a text conversation is going to be great as well. It doesn't matter what it is, but just know that the more senses that we are engaging in a connection, in a human connection, the more connected we feel and the more rewarding it is to that hardwiring that we have for human connection. But whatever you can get, take that. So just once a day. Or a FaceTime. Oh, I forgot about FaceTime. That's another one. If you can't be in person, having a FaceTime or a Zoom or Skype or WhatsApp or whatever apps people are using these days. And just having that, making that effort to do that with someone, as a caveat, with someone that you really normally enjoy chatting with. Not probably the person that you have the most challenging, difficult relationship with. We don't need to do that just yet. But with someone that you normally feel supported by, heard by, seen by, that you just have great conversations with, they're positive, they're interesting, they're supportive, doing that once a day. The next thing to do, move your body. I don't want to sound like a broken record. I research all the time about mental health, about well-being, about trauma recovery, about pain management, emotional pain, getting through emotional pain. So I said pain management, which would refer to physical pain. That's not my specialty, but just getting through our own pain, our own challenges, our own difficulties, our own mental health struggles. One of the biggest comes back again and again and again and again in the research is the power of physical movement, preferably outside in nature if you can, because nature has a very kind of natural, rhythmic, calming experience for our physical bodies. There's tons of research around that as well, because we are organic, right? We are organic beings. We are carbon containing, and being around other carbon containing live things, trees and shrubs and birds and chipmunks and all that stuff, being around that is very grounding for most humans. Unless you've had some kind of traumatic or adverse experience in nature where it has like a negative connotation in your brain. But for most everyone else, that is going to be this naturally grounding, calming, connected thing. So getting outside, you get like bonus points if you are exercising with a friend in nature, not bonus points for like life, no one's keeping score in life, but like bonus points for your own increased happiness and well-being. So getting out, connecting with the three-dimensional people in the three-dimensional world, breathing in the fresh air, that is going to be a big thing. Just going for a walk, going for a run, going for a rollerblade, kicking a ball with some of your kids and their parents and some friends, just getting out and like having a little family game of soccer at the local playground, whatever that is. Getting out and moving your body, it has huge mood boosting benefits. And then also doing it with another human being also has huge mood boosting benefits, connection benefits, and can help you get you out of that isolation pattern that you might be in. The next one is help people. If you are struggling, reach out to help and lend a helping hand to someone else. The research on happiness suggests that one of the greatest, so I guess, how do I say this? One of the activities that you can do that will give you the biggest bang for your happiness buck, say that 5 times fast, is doing something for someone else. Not in like a weird kind of people-pleasy, reachy, trying to prove your worth kind of way, but in a genuine, like, I just want to help this person out. Volunteer for something, ask an elderly neighbor or someone who isn't able to get out of the house easily because of a physical limitation or a health limitation. Ask them if you can go pick up some groceries for them, some just like a nice coffee for them. Buy the person in lineup behind you at the coffee shop, buy them a coffee. I've seen this done. I've had this done to me. It is so nice. It feels so good. Smile at someone while you're walking down the street. Reach out and ask a friend how they're doing. Offer to talk if they're having a tough day. Whatever it is, whatever you like to do to help people, do it. Don't make it like, oh, I hate doing this, because you're probably not going to enjoy doing it if you absolutely hate it. But think of ways that you like to support others, be there for people, and find something to do. It's going to help you not both of you like the other person but help you to both feel better because you are doing something for another human being, which is just how we're wired as humans. And also it's going to help you feel connected to another human being, because you're going to have an interaction, you're going to have a conversation. You're just going to have some kind of connection. So lots of bang for your buck on that one. And then our next strategy for fighting social isolation is to make plans. This one is a really important one for me because I think I forgot to mention that social isolation is one that I used to really struggle with. I don't so much anymore because I've intentionally put in some strategies and safeguards to prevent myself from socially isolating. But I used to, especially in the winter months here, because it tends to be really gray and gloomy and drab, and it would kind of bring me down, and I'd get a little bit of seasonal affect disorder and be feeling kind of depressed during those months. And so then often with some depression comes social isolation, and I found that when I made plans, it was really good for me, because what would happen is I would socially isolate and kind of avoid everyone and hold myself up and not leave the house that much. And then I'd come to this point where I'd be like, I need to be around people. I need to see someone. I need to feel connected. I need a friend. I need like some kind of deep connection with someone, or just do something fun with someone. And it would be like, I need this immediately. And then of course, everyone would have plans already or wouldn't be able to do something last minute, and I'd feel even more kind of stuck and depressed and down and kind of hurt that no one was available, even though it was not their fault. And so what I find is that when I have a few plans, when I have too many plans, I get kind of overwhelmed, but I kind of know myself well enough to know now how many commitments and plans I can make that are going to be good for me versus tipping over into becoming stressful and overwhelming. And so I'm very kind of mindful about that, but making plans for me is important. A couple plans throughout the week, seeing a couple different people, having that friend time, that connection time, doing something fun. So important for me to have that in the calendar so that I make sure I go out and do it. Even if I don't totally feel like it, I know well enough now that when I do get out, I more often than not feel better. And I also know that it's more important for me to get out and do things that I may not totally want to do when the time comes, versus not having any plans. And then again, like getting to that point where I reach that tipping point and then no one is available. That feels even worse than just going out, getting myself out when I don't necessarily totally feel like it. And again, like I said, almost always feel better when I do. So making plans, it's a big one. And then joining some kind of support group or just a social group. I know a lot of people that do things like book clubs and running clubs and underwater basket weaving clubs or whatever that is. Getting out and being a part of something, especially like I talked about in the other talk, and a big reason why people socially isolate is if they're in grief. So joining a grief support group is going to be big for that. Being around other people who are going through something similar. Hopefully it's somewhere where people can be honest and authentic, but it's also like a relatively supported and helpful place, as opposed to it being a group where everyone just goes and kind of spills all their stuff out, and you end up coming away, feeling worse than you did before, because everyone's just, talking about all their misery, and there's no real support, there's no real help there, there's no real what's the word? I don't want to say like there's no positivity, because especially if you're going through something hard, you don't want to be like, well, just think positive or everything happens for a reason. That can fall down that spiritual bypassing realm, which I'm going to do a talk about on another day. But you know what I mean? And I can't explain this any better way than that's been one of the biggest things that people who are in the Shift Society community, that they have said, they've said, I've been a part of other groups where it's just been a bunch of people just pouring out all their problems, and I end up feeling worse rather than better when I go in and try to be involved in that community. So we have created this thing very intentionally, and a lot of work and dedication is going onto it by myself and my team to make sure that people in the Shift Society feel supported. They feel like they can be honest and authentic, but we also make it so that it's a place where people come into with the goal of working through their problem, not just displaying their problem, right? Not just sort of putting it all out there for everyone else to feel overwhelmed by, where I can't totally explain it, but that's been the feedback we've gotten, where people have said, I love this group because I feel like I can be myself and be authentic, but I also feel supported, and I feel like everybody else is coming into the comments and being really caring but optimistic, and not in like a trite way, but in a really kind of helpful way. And I find that other people's posts, I don't come into the group and read other people's posts and then go away feeling worse than I did before. I just feel like the whole community is here to uplift each other, to support each other. And it's just the whole vibe in there. And so that's one of the reasons why the Shift Society has been so powerful and life-changing for people, is because of this community that has become so much bigger than just me leading a group. It has become this beautiful community of humans mutually giving and receiving from one another, sharing and supporting, being heard and being held accountable, all of it in there. And so if you haven't had a chance to come and be a part of the Shift Society, make sure you get on the wait list for that. The link to that is in the description. Often, we can self-isolate because we are not feeling good about ourselves. We are feeling down about who we are. We are feeling discouraged in our own sense of self. We're feeling just our self-esteem is struggling. We're wondering if we're worthy enough, if we're good enough, if we're lovable enough, if people really care. We're wondering if there's something wrong with us. We just are really struggling with feeling good about ourselves. And so if this is something that you have been struggling with, get my new free download. It's called 6 Simple Ways to Be Yourself Without Apology. And that's going to help lay that foundational work for feeling good about yourself from the inside out, and not wondering or worrying or apologizing for who you are. So 2 things, actually 3. Get on the wait list for the Shift Society. Get that Ways to Be Yourself Without Apology. Let me know in the comment section below what connected with you, what you took from this. If you've been socially isolating, what you're going to start doing to start reversing that pattern that you're in. Always good to be with you. Be good to yourself. Be good to those around you. And until next time, take good care.